It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for being here. If you were here at the intro of the show, you'll know that it is the 1st of August and we are celebrating as your Feel Good Breakfast Show, all things to do with women in particular. We also asked you to hit us up and let us know if you are a woman or know a woman who has an inspiring story to tell, to hit us up on our WhatsApp line. And you could be joining us on the couch. But right now we have an incredible guest in studio. Her name is Lynn Hill, and she's a globally recognized motivational speaker, also an award-winning author and a global ambassador. Now, awards do include the UK Women Appreciating Women Hall of Fame induction, as well as the Queen of Grit Award, and she is exactly that. She's an overcomer of so many challenges, and I'm going to put out a trigger warning for this one. Her challenges do include teenage pregnancy, divorce, single parenthood, and a brutal rape at the age of just 15. And through her impactful book, it's called Butterfly, My Soul Got Wings, and a thought-provoking podcast called Hear Me Roar, Lynn has turned her personal suffering into a source of inspiration and also empowerment. And she joins us to share her story as part of our Women Who Inspire series. And what a way to get kick-started, Lynn. Thank you for being here. Let's give her a feel-good welcome. I mean, come on. Yes. Looking the part. We've got the red nails matching. Lynn, how are you this morning?
Darling, it's the month of Queendom, and as we were chatting before, it needs to happen 365 days a year.
Please, can we
so
petition
I'm honored
for that?
We can petition for that. Same with 16 days of activism.
Absolutely.
So thank you for having me. I'm honored, blessed, humbled, and grateful.
Oh, we are grateful to have you here, and thank you for coming through to share a very vulnerable story, but also a story with intention, right? And I want to delve into that a little bit because I wonder, through everything that you've been through, from teenagehood to where you are now, a wonderfully established woman, what was that turning point for you to realize that I want to or even need to share my story?
There were actually two turning points, and the one was sharing for the sake of justice. So as a 15-year-old standing in the Supreme Court, knowing allegedly that I was not victim number one, but as that 15-year-old baby girl, I vowed that I would be his last victim.
Wow.
And so I shared for the sake of justice. Yeah. But it took me 23 years to really begin sharing. It took me 23 years to forgive him.
Wow.
And I knew then that healing had run its course. I was able to objectify the experience, and that prompted me to share. I could not have gone through it for nothing.
Yes.
And when we don't share, we tend to nullify the experience and the significance of it.
Wow. And I wonder if that was part of your healing process, because like you said, it took 23 years to say and release and say, I forgive you. What was that experience and healing process like for you?
It came about in the format of me writing a poem and going back 23 years and reliving that moment with such sensory acuity. And after I had completed writing the poem, I then reread it. And that was my moment of becoming an observer in my story.
Sure.
That was my moment of depersonalizing the damage and saying, okay, I was simply an object of your displaced anger.
Oh, I feel like I'm too stunned to speak. That was a word. That was, oh my gosh, that moment of just separating yourself from your experience to be able to objectively look at it is
absolutely
a moment of healing that not many people have gone through, have experienced. So Lynn, I think that you definitely are spreading a word right now. And I know that you do this. You advocate for better health, better mental health, and also just being a better place in your life. And have all these experiences influenced that positioning for you in the world?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First of all, the experience informed my career trajectory.
Yeah.
And that was to study psychology.
Sure.
As the wounded healer.
Wow.
I operated that way for many years. And I think the experience also was part of the content of inspiration. One of my quotations is that it takes the same amount of soil to dig a grave than it does to plant a garden. And it was when I could have been buried that I chose to be planted.
Wow.
And we all have this choice to choose how anything affects us.
Absolutely.
I consciously chose passion over pity and power over pain.
Wow. Lynn, thank you so much for sharing so far. And as you can hear, I mean, you're so poetic with your words and so profound as well in everything you're saying. And I know that you've got a book as well as a podcast. So talk to me a bit about this book. It's called Butterfly, My Soul Got Wings. What is that about?
So very importantly, it is not about gender-based violation. Chapter 2 is a chapter on forgiveness,
Yeah.
and the rape actually just contextualized
Right.
that. But Butterfly, My Soul Got Wings is really the journey which we can all identify with. From captivity to triumph. And you don't need to experience trauma in order to know captivity. Sometimes complacency can
Sure.
become captivity at an unconscious level.
Absolutely.
So Butterfly touches on generic principles such as resilience,
Yeah.
authenticity, personal freedom. And in my final chapter, I draw on Viktor Frankl's work and Nelson Mandela in terms of actual physical captivity, but how they were able to override that through mental fortitude.
Sure.
So as a 15-year-old, I practiced existentialism before I knew the concept existed.
Of course.
Because it was how can I make this pain work, not only for myself, but for humanity? And one of my mantras that really kept me going was my pain for humanity's gain.
Wow. Well, let's touch on that really quickly, My Pain for Humanity's Gain. I know that you work through Limitless by Lynn Hill, and you're impacting individuals and communities dealing with similar challenges. So maybe just to wrap up, tell me more about that and the work that you're doing.
Community is one segment of it. I also do corporate work and hopefully impact anyone who crosses my path. I'd love to
You
believe.
definitely have.
Marianne Williamson says it so succinctly, as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same.
Love that quote.
And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. We cannot impact without making authentic connection and sharing from heart and sharing truth and sharing in vulnerability is a prerequisite to making that connection. So never mind who my audiences are, where I am, that sharing is actually a prompting for others to do the same, to draw courage from my vulnerability. And that's been a part of my earthly mission.
For sure. Lynn, thank you so much. This has been impactful. It has been beautiful. Even people sitting at home right now, I'm sure, are definitely so inspired by your story and, of course, what has come of it. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And we call it Feel Good for an absolute reason. Do make sure that you follow Lynn's story, follow her podcast, follow her book as well, and make sure that you get inspired today, woman or not.